Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Kat and this is Catadactyl. Today I have so many books to get to. I have been reading voraciously in May, so I need to do 2 different wrap-ups, otherwise there's just going to be like 20 books. So today I want to talk about 8 books, and so let's just go ahead and get into it. So I'm going to tell you guys about the books from my least favorite to my most favorite that I read in the first 2 weeks. So yeah, there's some really great ones in here, and I think that if you guys have similar reading taste to me, then there's going to be a lot of really cool stuff. Okay, so first I'm going to get into a book which just didn't gel well with me, and it is First We Make the Beast Beautiful by Sara Wilson. Now, this was a DNF for me. I think I made it 40 pages in. It just didn't sit well because it's stream of consciousness, but in no particular strategic order or making any sort of sense. So it's a memoir about anxiety, but it actually made me kind of anxious to read it, which I think is not what they were going for. So although the cover is absolutely stunning, this was not one for me. Yeah. And then the next one I want to talk about is due back at the library today, and it is Everything Under by Daisy Johnson. Now, this is a retelling of Oedipus' story, and that is what originally intrigued me. So we're following a young girl who grew up on a riverboat with her mother, and one season a boy swam upstream and something happened, and there's like a mystery, and we go back and forth between the past and the present, where she is taking care of her mother who kind of fell back into her life but has amnesiac like episodes. And at first I was really intrigued and waiting to see what would happen, and then I realized that I just didn't understand what was happening at all. And then I kind of lost interest to discover what was happening, if that makes sense. So I think the way that it was told in alternating points of view and also alternating time along the timeline, it just really made it kind of discombobulated for me. So it's not for me, but if you like that kind of storytelling and you like retellings, then this might really be for you. I know a lot of other people on BookTube have really loved this book, so it might just be that I am the minority in this case. Okay, next up is a 3-star book, which is This Census Taker by Mieville. This has been on my TBR for a long time. So we're following a young boy in like a remote city or countryside, and we're not sure what has happened to society. It's kind of like things have fallen apart, and there was an uprising, and then now there's just like the disintegrating parts of machinery left over, and like kind of no one talks about the past. But every so now often a person comes and takes the census, and during this time the young boy's mother and father start to disintegrate, like mentally, and their relationship towards each other. But the thing that I loved about this book was the child's perspective is so unreliable that you're not sure if he just doesn't understand what he's seeing or if it's actually as horrifying as what you think Mieville is saying. So, and the parts that I didn't like about this book were that I didn't know if it was really happening and things went unsaid. So I feel like I kind of want to divorce Mieville and never read any of him ever again, but also like I'm intrigued. I think that's how it is. Like this book, 3 stars because I can't stop thinking about it, even though it feels so unfinished and it feels so just, yeah, it's just really an unfinished piece of work. So if that at all intrigues you, or you're interested in like a little like dark narrative, then this would be for you. Okay, and then next up I read If You Could Be Mine by Sara Farizan. So in this one we are following 2 best friends, Sahar and Nisrin, and they are best friends in Iran, and they've always been best friends. But the thing is that they love each other and they carry on their relationship in secret. But what happens is when one of them becomes engaged to be married, they are wondering what they could do to save their relationship. And in that process, one of the girls is thinking about getting a sex change because that is not illegal in Iran, although homosexual relationships are. So this book, I gave 4 stars overall. I think a lot of the aspects of it were really interesting. I have never heard about it before, or about like gay culture in Iran, or just kind of anything remotely similar to this. So for that instance, 4 stars. The reason it lost some stars for me was because I feel like kind of fell apart near the end, and I wanted something else to happen. Like, I just needed more, if that makes sense. I just wanted something else to happen that would convince me that, I don't know, just something like some poetic justice in the end or something like that. So yeah, If You Could Be Mine, very important book, and I recommend it. So the next book that I picked up was Burial Rites by Hannah Kent. This is a reimagining of the last execution to take place in Iceland in 1829. And the execution was of a woman. So she was accused of helping orchestrate the murder of a man, and she maintains that she was just standing by and that she didn't know that the murder was going to take place, but she's charged and sentenced to death anyway. And this is Hannah Kent's really diving into the history and like the historical texts and different narratives that we have about that person, and reimagining it from that character's perspective instead of just straight up vilifying her. And this book was horrendously sad, such a slow burn, and so atmospheric. So if you are interested in anything that I just said, I highly recommend this. It was really great. Also, I'm in love with this specific edition by Picador. So after that, another 4-star read for me was More Happy Than Not by Adam Silvera. So Adam Silvera's writing style just always is like a sucker punch to the gut, and this was no exception. So More Happy Than Not, we are following a boy who's growing up in the poor area of town, and he's struggling with fitting in. He's kind of nerdy, he's secretly gay, and he's struggling to make friends, to fit in. His mom is struggling to make ends meet. His father committed suicide. His brother is always giving him a hard time. And in this world, there is this thing that you can do called the Letio process, where it can erase specific memories and kind of position you back so that the trauma that happened you can't remember and you can move forward. So he is thinking to do the Letio process and forget all of the painful things that have happened to him so that he can move forward. And this is when he meets a new boy to the neighborhood, and things kind of go from there. So this is not at all like a romance YA. I really would caution people against reading this if that's what you're interested in. This is definitely kind of a darker exploration of growing up and being queer and just being disadvantaged in many ways in society. And, you know, in classic Silvera style, it made me cry, and it felt like a punch to the gut. So yeah, 4 very heartbroken stars. So then after that, I read A Planet for Rent by YOSS. So YOSS is the leading science fiction writer coming out of Cuba, and this is translated from the Spanish by David Fry. Now, I had been wanting to read YOSS for a long time because, as you guys know, I'm trying to read more translated fiction, and YOSS kept coming up over and over for Cuba. So I really wanted to read something that he wrote, and this is like one of the most highly acclaimed pieces. So this is, I don't even know how to explain. It's like, whew. It is a reimagining of colonialism in Cuba if it was aliens taking over Earth. That is the just most overarching thing that I could tell you. And the thing about this is that I wish this had been billed as a collection of short stories rather than a novel, because it reads more like disparate short stories that sometimes link, sometimes don't, and they are brilliant. So as a sweeping narrative of a novel, I'm not sure how well they work, and that's why this gets 4.5 stars instead of 5. But as a short story collection, this blew me away. And if you like science fiction and you like weird writing and you're interested in translated fiction, this is amazing. So we follow so many different characters. We follow social workers who sell themselves to different aliens to get off of the planet. We sell artists who do different forms of art through destruction of the body, through amputation of self, through lasers, through like prismatic displays for aliens that see colors in different wavelengths. We see people who play the sport that is the galactic sport. YOSS made up his own sport, and it's played inside this huge box, and it's like a ball. It's just crazy, and like some of the stories in here are haunting. And one short story they're not short stories, but one story in particular that I absolutely loved was the narrative of an artist who is finding new ways to explore his art with his body, and about the alien who loves him. And then another one of the chapters later, like a little tiny bit of the thread from that earlier story is with this story, and it just like will literally rip your heart in half. Like, oh my, oh, I can't even talk about it. Yeah, so if that at all sounded amazing to you, check it out. Like, I so highly recommend it. I bet this will be coming back up on my favorites of the year because the staying power with this book is amazing. Like, I catch myself thinking about different scenes in this book, like just while I'm washing the dishes. Like, it's amazing, and I really recommend it. Not perfect, but amazing. Okay, so now I'm gonna talk about a book that will not be for everyone, but it's for me, and I think it's the first 5-star, or maybe the second 5-star of the year that I'm giving, and it is Withered and Seer by TJ Klune. Now, TJ Klune is usually a gay romance writer. However, this is his first foray into dystopian fiction, and it completely blew me away. So first off, just this book is so dark that if you do not like dark content, like, don't go anywhere. Just don't go anywhere near this book. This is for people who can stomach darker content. So in this world, America has collapsed. There has been a nuclear apocalypse around the world, and we are following a man named Cavallo who is in a mental institution because he doesn't really fit into towns because he has a lot of trauma and a lot of PTSD, and he just doesn't like to be around other people. So he lives in that facility with a AI system and his dog. Now in this book, the dog is like a character, and you can hear what the dog thinks, and the man believes / he does talk to the dog. Now if you're thinking that this sounds bad, you would be so sorely mistaken. That dog is the most precious dog I have ever read, and I'm terrified to read the sequel because it's a dark world and I don't want the dog to die. So, okay. So Cavallo is on a hunting mission to gather food for himself when he shoots a stag with a bow and arrow, and it goes launching across the highway. Now that's a problem because on one side of the highway it's safe for the civilized people. On the other side of the highway, that is where the gang called the Dead Rabbits live. Now the Dead Rabbits are cannibals, and yes, straight up they are. So if that sounds like you're like, that sounds bad, don't read this book, just don't. So the stag goes across the highway into the Dead Rabbit's territory, and he has to hunt the stag, otherwise he won't have food. So he decides to go with his dog across the territory and get the stag because it's bleeding out, and he'll just carry it back. Things do not go as planned, and when things go down, he ends up bringing back with him a young man who is the most damaged, one of the most damaged dark characters that I've read in a long time. And it turns out that he just might be the secret to everything. Okay, so this book, the reason why I loved it so much is that it is written so flawlessly for someone who likes dark content, and just pitch perfect. Like, you get the perfect amount of backstory for Cavallo that it really fleshes him out entirely, and you feel so many things for that character. He's not a good person, total gray area. In fact, like, every single character in this book is a gray area other than the dog. And even then, the dog probably has killed people. So yeah, everyone is a gray character, and just, oh my god, I'm so terrified to read the next book. I've been deliberately putting off because I think that this is a duology, so there's only one more, and I know that stuff is gonna get crazy, but if you like dark or dystopian, post-apocalyptic, you like talking dogs, then you like AI, and I think, some queer romance, then this would be for you. So this is, I believe, my second 5-star of the year. I cannot recommend it highly enough. However, I do caution against anyone who doesn't like dark content. And now that I've been annoying and warned you so many times, yeah, I hope that only people who can stomach it would read it. So this is amazing, and TJ Klune, like, I bow down. Like, oh my god, so amazing. Okay, so that wraps up my May wrap-up part 1, and part 2 will be coming much later because I haven't even finished reading for the month, so I don't even know what other goodies I will get into. But if you've made it this far, thank you so much. Leave me a comment down below, that would be awesome. Let me know if you're planning to read any of these. So on my end, the ones that I would most recommend, A Planet for Rent by YOSS and Withered and Seer by TJ Klune. Like, oh my gosh, amazing. So yeah, I'm having a really excellent reading month, and I hope that you are too. So I'm gonna film some more videos and pop off to the library, and yeah, I hope you're having an awesome day. Thanks so much for watching. Bye!